Welcome, everybody, to the One to Go show. It is Puka, once again joined by the Bert Lehman and the Ryan Aho. Well, America's officially 244 years old, so we want to say happy birthday, America. And we did miss last week, to all of you north of the border, happy Canada Day. We did miss that, so we hope to be able to see you sometime this summer. It doesn't sound good, but we hope to see all of our Canadian friends as soon as possible. All right, we had a lot going on this week. We had World of Outlaw late models and World of Outlaw sprint cars at Cedar Lake. We had the Great Lakes Border Battle. We had the River City Rumble, but we also had some really big news coming out of South Carolina. Chris Madden, who, as many of you know, was teamed up with Scott Bloomquist, and that happened about a year ago. And, Chris went on a tear. Once they teamed up, he got a second place in the Silver Dollar Nationals. He won the USA Nationals for $50,000. He won the North-South 100 for $50,000. He won the Topless for $40,000. He won the Extreme Dirt Car Point Series over this past winter. Well, last Tuesday on June 30th, they parted ways. Someone said it was mutual. We don't know if you read some of the article. There was the word economics involved, so maybe he was fired. We just don't know, but we wanted to touch on this subject. So, Bert Lehman, why don't we start with you tonight? What are your thoughts on the separation of, Chris Madden from SBR Racing?
I mean, as you stated, we don't know exactly what happened. The interesting thing about the split is that, because Dryden sponsored, Bloomquist cars. And the interesting thing is, obviously, Dryden is staying with Bloomquist, but they're also going – this was announced actually before Madden had a ride that Dryden would also sponsor Madden whenever he resumed racing. So I thought that was rather interesting that, the main sponsor is sponsoring the driver that left. So, I don't think it could be economics from the main sponsor standpoint because, they're still putting money into two different drivers. So I think there's something else involved besides economics with sponsors.
You think there's drama there? What no way. Here's the deal. Madden was he's the primary with that Dryden deal. Madden's the primary. It's not Bloomquist.
He is. Ooh,
Madden's the primary. Yeah, Bloomquist and Ricky also get a good sponsorship, but Madden was the primary number one car. He was the primary driver in that deal. And I talked to a couple people once that announcement happened. One of them is a fellow driver of theirs, may or may not build some chassis. I won't mention any names. I won't say what state he's from. Might be next to Minnesota. But he did mention this, and let's be honest. This guy's not really tight with Bloomquist, but he says, some drivers just maybe don't have a ton of knowledge, and as soon as they start losing, they jump ship. And that's what it looks like to me. I mean, ever since this Droop rule come in, the Team Zero cars have been garbage. I mean, Ricky's been okay. He's been the best of them, but they just haven't been very good. Rockets are really dominating right now in the national scene. And I think he got frustrated, and it's mass chaos down there. So he got frustrated. He jumped ship. He was looking for a different ride. But it's also mass chaos in the Bloomquist shop, right? I mean, let's be honest. He's one of the best ever to strap into a late model. The guy's incredibly knowledgeable, right? But that guy's got a lot of problems. I mean, he's got some issues. And a lot of people think he's got a lot of money rolling in. That guy, with all the problems he has, money goes out faster than it comes in. So I think there was a lot of turmoil there. Both of them are type A. They're going to do the politically correct thing because they understand the finances with sponsorship dollars and all that. But let's just say that Chris Madden was not happy, but I can assure you he's going to be a lot happier now.
Well, and, speaking of jumping ship, I mean, you have to remember how Madden got in that car in the first place. I mean, he was driving for somebody else last year and left
Ruining
that
Motorsports.
team. Yep, left that team, dropped off the World of Outlaw tour, and, so, yeah, maybe there is something to that.
Yeah, and, to think that with that kind of success in that short amount of time, it was just incredible, and then a month ago, he's on the pole for the stream and the car won't start, so if he wins that just a month ago, the whole deck is reshuffled.
He wasn't going to win that. It just wasn't going to happen. even if he'd have started pole, he was going to back up. I'm telling you, ever since they announced that droop rule, Team Zero's really been off the pace. They have not something Rocket has figured out with how to build traction without not hiking so high. Whatever they have going on, their cars are working 100 times better, and it's mass chaos. Bloomquist, they can't even get a car put out of the shop. Like, it's absolute just chaos down there. So they have been off the game. You know, if anybody can figure it out, it's going to be Scott Bloomquist. The guy's incredibly smart. He's one of the best ever, but right now they're struggling.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's for sure. I mean, you could see that. And I don't know where this all goes. You know, Scott and this whole, there's always something following him, you know, and just, it just seems crazy. Now, as far as Chris Madden goes, he did find a home, Ryan.
Yeah, he's driving for, Tyler Millwood. It's Millwood Motorsports, and he's going to follow, looks to me like the Southern Nationals Tour. So, again, off the World of Outlaw Tour. He's no longer following that. He'll probably be up at, you know, some of the marquee events possibly. I haven't heard if he's coming to the USA Nationals. I would assume he'd probably come up there. But he's going to follow that Southern Nationals Tour. And, you know, I don't know. Do you know much about Tyler Millwood?
I don't. Or Bert, do you know much?
I don't know much about him either.
You know, the little bit I read, you know, he's a young guy. He's 29 years old. He's been racing since he was 7 years old. He did some great stuff. He's done some super stuff the last few years. It sounds like he already had a car that Madden had kind of modified for him when he was running with Bruning last year. He was what chassis is Lanigan running?
He doesn't have a Longhorn. Barry Wright?
Barry Wright, yeah. He had, so that's what Madden was running previously. So he had a Barry Wright there. So it sounds like they have a relationship, you know, a little bit. But he's a young guy. He hasn't had a ton of success, but he's based out of Georgia. So, yeah, he's going to hit the circuit with that young man, and we'll see what happens there. So now we just kind of wanted to put on our thinking cap. So there's an empty car sitting in the Scott Bloomquist Racing stable. So now we want to see kind of what the fellas are thinking, you know, who might possibly fill that role. Bert, why don't we start with you and see what your thoughts are?
If I was Team Bloomquist, I would put nobody in that car. I think they need to concentrate on Scott performing on the track and getting back to the level that his fans expect him to be at and that he expects himself to be at. You know, I'm not saying that having two cars is the reason for why he struggled a little bit, although he's been performing better the last few weeks. But, I mean, it's just a lot more work to make sure to prepare two cars every week. And, I mean, it's not preparing two cars. You have to have a backup car. So, I mean, actually, you're preparing four cars, you know, that have to be ready to race. So, if I was him, I would just leave it vacant. I mean, if you want to put a driver in there for a big special, fine. But for the most part, I would just leave it vacant.
Ryan, go ahead. Sorry for the interruption.
Puka, you jumped the cushion back there, I see, kind of crashing and jumping over tires. And I don't know what you got going
around here somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, hey, don't worry about us. We'll just do the show here. You just do your own thing back there.
There, she's over there.
Hey, I'm actually let you take this one.
Okay.
Who do you think, you know, is going to maybe jump into that?
Well, I think it's a long shot, but this is a guy that I think, because, you know, you've got, you know, Scott's 56, so you got this veterans won a lot, and then you go all the way to the other spectrum. You've got he's right here, Dale McDowell. You know, so closer to Scott's age, and then you have Ricky, that's in his early 20s. You know, so you know, I think ultimately a guy, because Madden was 44, 45 years old, so I think you want to get somebody around that 40 years of age, and I'm going to bring up a guy that we need to pull out of retirement, the protege, and that's Brady Smith. You know, a guy that had a lot of success with Bloomquist cars for about a half dozen years. I think he got into them about 08 or so. And, you know, so, you know, I just think he's got, like I said, it's kind of an age thing because, like you said, Ryan, Ricky has been struggling over the last few weeks, but he's been by far the best out of the Bloomquist cars. So is it driving style, you know, or what is it? And then you've got, like I said, Madden or a Brady Smith are kind of in that 40-ish age. And like I said, you got Scott at 56. So that would be my pick. I don't know if it's going to happen. Probably not. But I think a phone call should be made up to Wisconsin to see if we can get Brady back on the track.
Well, first of all, Brady's back in – I think he's in Minnesota. unless he moved back to Wisconsin. He was actually he decided he was going to be a Vikings fan, moved to Minnesota. So kind of proud of him for that. But yeah, he was living over by St. Cloud. And Ricky Weiss, man, I think you're realizing we're not. I think you're trying to pretend like we're a little younger than we are, right? Ricky's actually in his early 30s.
Oh, I thought he was in his 20s.
No, he's got 5 Wisconsin national championships already. He's been racing a lot longer than a lot of people think, but he's been, not in our area. But I'm with Bert. 100%, absolutely, totally agree with Bert. Nobody should touch that ride with a 10-foot pole. It's chaos down there. Now, let's be honest. Bloomquist, everybody thinks the guy's got all this money and all. He ain't got no money. So that ride that he had, so to speak, was basically, I'm guessing a big chunk of that was from sponsorships and so on, but he doesn't have a lot of funding behind him. He's got some good sponsors, some good relationships he built, but the fact is, the money's just not there. Like I said, he spends it faster than it comes in, so I don't think anybody's going to jump in, and I've seen some names thrown around, and I got to be honest, if I was one of them drivers and they looking at the way they're performing, why would somebody want that ride right now? I just don't think it would make much sense.
Well, he's got to be kidding. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, did you guys see the big rumors that were flying around when it was announced that Madden was leaving, that Kyle Larson is going to Team Zero?
Yeah, I saw the picture. Some people did some nice Photoshop there. I believe Kyle Larson mentioned that there was a possibility of maybe him running a little bit in a Bloomquist car I think in the middle of the winter, we kind of saw a little bit there. So you never know. That would be really smart on Bloomquist's part to put him in the car for a couple big events because, man, he'd sell some freaking T-shirts if nothing else.
That's
and
for
some
sure.
die-cast.
Yeah, and some die-cast. You don't know anybody that buy one of them, do you?
Yeah, well, I pre-ordered a Madden die-cast, so I'm assuming they're still going to release it.
Right.
Well, and I just got to wonder if Bloomquist regrets a little bit too. Like I said, we have proof, at the stream, B-Shep said, we've been testing. You didn't hear anything from any of the Team Zero cars that during that whole COVID break that they were testing. And obviously those cars were the cars that needed to test the most. They're, like you said, Ryan, they are the ones struggling with the droop rule more than anybody. And for whatever reason, we just didn't hear anything about any testing. And now it's coming back to haunt them just a little bit. All right, fellas, nice job on Chris Madden here. We'll move on to this weekend's racing. And we'll start off with MTS, the River City Rumble. So, Ryan, you want to kick us off on kind of your thoughts on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday shows that we saw down there?
Well, who's a guy that we called out in the late models here, whether it was a couple weeks ago, John Canta. We said, what's he doing? He's struggling. Bam, John Canta wins. Again, Anthony Canta, if you're watching the show, I expect a check in the mail. I will forward you my address. I split that between these guys. But great to see John Canta, 63 years young. He's still got it, Mr. Smooth. Another guy, one thing that was a surprise to me, Ryan Unziker. He was fun to watch down at Gateway. Fun to see him show up to that race. He ran very well. Dustin Sorensen got another win down there. I want to give a really quick shout out. Ryan Olson, USRA B mods 3 in a row for flying Ryan down there. He won both nights in the USRA B mods. The track, hard to beat the sun, hard to beat the wind. It wasn't all that great. It was good early on. Heck, Lance Matthews looked like he was going to have a shot there for a little while. Bam, rubber. And, man, it's one of those deals. You got to get a lot of moisture in the track. I would not want to be a track prep guy, but 40-lap feature, I believe it was. And, I think the second half of the races weren't all that spectacular. So, I guess my biggest shout-out, John Canta, and he's absolutely one of my favorite late model drivers in the area. Love seeing him win. Bert, I'll turn it to you.
Yeah, the feature on Thursday night, late model feature on Thursday night, the first 20 laps were unbelievable. I was watching, there were portions where they were racing 3 wide for the lead within the first 20 laps between Canta, Troy Springborn, and Taylor Scheffler. But then that caution came out about lap 20, and Matthews was on the move, and I even sent out a text to you guys, and I said, Matthews is going to win this thing because he was flying, and I thought on the caution that he would get the lead, and yeah, boom, the track rubbered up, and Lance went backwards. He actually finished 10th after starting 9th, but he was up to 3rd at one point early on in the race. But some things from the Thursday night, Ron Berna, who's an Eastern Wisconsin driver who follows the series in hot laps, his car, it looked like it went up in smoke. I mean, there was just smoke pouring all out of it. And so I thought maybe he blew a motor, but he was back out there racing, and he actually started 21st in the feature and finished 4th on Thursday night. And then the next night, he started 12th and finished 6th. So he had a very good 2-night show after what looked like could have been a disaster in hot laps on the first night. And this is really the first time that, I watched both shows, and this was really the first time I got to see Jake Kim race. And that guy is a talent. I mean, modified late model. He's not afraid to drive it high. He's not afraid to drive it low. He's not afraid to put it in a 4-inch space when there's, when a car's 5 inches wide.
Poor man's Bobby Pierce.
And but I think and I also want to give mention to Brett Swedberg. I talked about him last week because he won the feature at Shawano Speedway, and in Friday night's feature he started 17th and finished 5th. So I think he should be leading in points. If not leading, he'll only be a few points behind. But I think the series is going to come, since Nick Avalink didn't race there, he went to Cedar Lake instead. So there will be a new champion in the Dirt King Series this year. I think it's going to come down to Swedberg and Justin Ritchie vying for the top spot. So overall, I thought it was very good racing. You could tell that they prepared the track differently for Friday night. There was definitely more moisture in the track. So, it's good to see tracks trying to improve on things rather than just, okay, we're just going to do it this way. We can't beat the sun. No, they tried and it worked for the most part.
Yeah, my observations are, I was really happy again, like Ryan said, John Canta with the win. Just having, we've seen it twice now with Zota cars winning, and I think that's really great for Wisconsin and the late models. I think it's really great for the Dirt King Series. I think it's a little bit of a threat, and we've talked about this in previous shows, to Zota, because these guys are now able to compete, other than the Challenge Series, for some big money races. And I guess, maybe this is going to spur some change over the winter, as, Zota's going to kind of have to look at that rule book just a little bit. Again, and I concur with Bert here. The track got a little bit tough there, but Eisenberg seemed to have a good run. He made it up to second there the first night. Dustin Sorensen, he's another young guy that looked really good. He was really impressive. And another guy that impressed me was the Dirt King's announcer. I don't know if you know him, Bert, but I enjoyed I enjoyed his commentary. I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, Matt Pannier, he's the announcer at Wisconsin International Raceway in Kaukauna asphalt track, and he is also, I think he owns the series, but he runs the Tundra Late Model Series for asphalt super late models.
Yeah, I agree. He did a great job announcing. I watched both them nights too. I didn't watch all the heats, but I watched the features. He did a great job. Made the show of the show. Really quick story about Lance Matthews. I mean, let's face it. We've all seen a lot of late model racing, and when it takes rubber, nobody passes anybody, right? He went backwards a whole pile of spots when the rubber came out. Well, what does that tell you? Maybe he can't see very good. He's a little older. Well, I don't know if you guys remember. Lance had big, thick Coke bottle glasses. Remember that years ago, Puka?
Yeah, we used to call them Coke bottles.
Well, I was at the Fox Ridge Speedway. Now, I think he has surgery and all that, but clearly he can't see very good still because he was driving out of the rubber going backwards. Makes no sense. But I remember I raced against him in a late model at Fox Ridge, and I was running good. I was running like third, fourth, somewhere in that neighborhood, and I broke. And I was sitting on the top of 1 and 2. I felt like I sat there forever. Yellow light was out. Matthews drives right over me. Bam! Just drills me. And in the pay window, he's up there visiting with Kreiderman and a couple of them, and I'm like, dude, what the hell were you doing? Like, I was broke. Like, I already broke stuff. I couldn't afford to break more stuff. And I was like, mad. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? Literally, he goes, here, you try looking through them. And I'm like, I got nothing. So yeah, that's my Lance Matthews story. I was hoping to see him run good. He's a good dude. A lot of fun to be around. So, Puka, I'll turn it back to you.
All right, well, let's move on to Cedar Lake, where we saw the World of Outlaw late models and the World of Outlaw sprint cars competing. Ryan, I know we all caught this. Ryan, I know you had some strong opinions about some of the stuff that went on there. So why don't we start with you?
Well, first of all, I'll start, off topic of racing is the COVID scanner, whatever you want to call it, right? They had this whole song and dance, smoke and mirrors. Hey, we got this state-of-the-art COVID scanner deal. And honestly, as a promoter, I'm like, oh, man, this could suck. Like, literally, there's going to be thousands of people. What if a bunch of them test positive? How's this whole deal work? Well, my buddy Jeff, my buddy Keith, my buddy Pete, Carl, they all went down there. The Erickson Niska family, they went down there to watch races and brought their girls. And Jeff actually gets a hold of me. He says, this deal's a joke. He goes, like, they ain't checking nothing. There ain't nobody checking nothing. Literally, people would walk through, and they were just scanning people's temperature. And if they had a temperature, they had to go through the scanner, and they gave you a sheet of paper. They didn't check anybody for anything. It looked like a metal detector. It was all smoke and mirrors. In fact, they stood off to the side, and they were listening as people came in, and they said, all right, make sure they're standing in the shade before you scan them. Make sure you keep the temperature gun out of the sun. Literally, they were doing everything they could to just make sure nobody was getting sent home. So that deal was just a joke, which I'm grateful to see, because if it would have actually been a legit deal, that could have been really ugly for a lot of racetracks. Now, we talk about heroes and zeros. Ashton Winger, what was it, a week ago only that he got his notoriety for throwing a fit and yelling at the official, and then all of a sudden he's a hero because he put on one hell of a show. Bishop, I think it was Bishop, got second in that race, right? And actually heavy pressured him, got by him once, he got back by him. He was aggressive, so that was really cool to see. Another first-time winner, I believe, in the World of Outlaws, a rookie. Great to see him win. Bishop is still the class of the field. He was absolutely bolted. But my whole thought process of this is, and we'll talk about Ricky Weiss after this. Okay, we'll get back to that in a second. Is I was concerned. Okay, you got right down the road. You got Mississippi Thunder, $5,000 to win, $500 to start. You got $20,000 to win, $1,000 to start at Cedar Lake World of Outlaw race. And I kept thinking, I'm like, now why would somebody like Pat Dorr, Jeffrey Massengale, Hannah Steds, why on earth would they go to Cedar Lake? Why? Why? Why would they even do that? Why wouldn't they drive the extra hour and a half, go down to where they have a legitimate shot? All them guys that I just mentioned had a legitimate shot. Giassi already won down there, right? Why would they not go race for $5,000? Every single one of them guys were lapped before the halfway mark both nights. Ridiculous. Why waste your time? Now, if there's nothing else going on, or if the next closest track is $800 to win or $1,000 to win, all right, yeah, I get it. It's $1,000 to start, $1,000 to win. Definitely go to Cedar Lake. But when it's $5,000 to win at Mississippi Thunder, and you're going to get a check for $1,000 and you got to buy different tires, and that's just stupid. It just absolutely makes no common sense. It just frustrated me even seeing them guys, because some of them guys are phenomenal race car drivers, and they're running around lap traffic. It's like, what are you guys doing? What's the point? So that really frustrated me. Maybe next week I got an idea, right? Maybe next week the super stocks are going to run with the late models. Why not?
Let me push back on that though.
Why not, right?
Let me push back on that just a little bit though. Like a guy not everyone, I agree. Like a Giassi, but if you take like Pat Dorr, for instance, I don't know for sure, but I've heard he lives about 5 miles from the track, and he's a guy that's probably going to run the World of Outlaws when they come up here through the swing. So he's going to buy some tires anyway. Obviously it's his home track. He's competitive there. He's probably in the top 5 on the win list. Overall, career wins. So I could see him, he's got success there. And even Diemel, a guy who's won there, a guy who's won a Lucas Oil race, he's probably going to run the circuit when they come around here, buy the tires, he can reuse them, because I actually looked at Dorr. His winnings for the weekend were 2,600. Diemel's winnings for the weekend were 2,700. Even our buddy Kaylee Emerson made the feature on Saturday night, bagged $1,000. But some of those other guys, yeah. And the other thing is, I'm sure they listen to the show. They're loyal listeners, and they kind of knew the car counts were going to be a little bit low. So obviously that increased their odds of making the show.
$2,600. You telling me that Pat Dorr and AJ Diemel wouldn't have finished up in the top 8 at Mississippi Thunder? Both of them would have, for sure.
Yeah.
They would have made more money, and let's face it. Sometimes it's not about the money, because they knew they weren't winning $20,000. That was not going to happen. Okay, that was out of the equation. Heck, they knew they weren't going to finish in the top 5, so they knew at best they're going to get 15 grand, 1,800, some for 1,500 or 1,800 at best, right? That's what they knew. So they knew that. Now the tires deal, it's not like they run them tires and it's like, hey, we got more shows. They run them tires one night, they throw them away, they put new ones on. Okay.
Oh, they're that bad too? I thought they were better than a Wayzata tire.
It doesn't matter where you race.
Oh, okay.
When you're running for that kind of money, I don't care if it's a Wayzata race, Dirt Kings race, World of Outlaw race. You strap new rubber on, it just is what it is. So that's out of the equation, I guess. But the fact of the matter is, these guys are winners. I mean, going there knowing, hey, I'm going to get the consolation prize. Hey, I made the show. I got to run around the back. I got to see some World of Outlaw guys. Oh, cool, right? Really? Stop it. Come on. It's ridiculous.
All right, Bert, your thoughts on the weekend?
Well, I'm just curious how Ryan really feels about it.
Hey, Ryan, big crowds. You always said you went to Cedar Lake for the big crowds, big crowds.
I mean, I always say it's the drivers spending the money on their cars. They can race, they can do what they want. They can race where they want. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Ryan. I mean, if you were looking at the economics of things, you would have went to Mississippi Thunder because you would have had a legit chance of winning, and chances are you would have made more. I mean, I take Nick Evelink, for example. I was really surprised when I read that he was going to Cedar Lake. I mean, if he doesn't want to run for the Dirt Kings Championship, that's one thing, but you're giving up 2 nights at possibly winning $5 grand where you have a legit chance to win $5 grand, and it was $500 to start, and that he's going to qualify for the feature. So I mean, he's almost guaranteed $1,000 just if he goes to Mississippi Thunder and doesn't have any problems. Thursday night he got $200 at Cedar Lake. He didn't qualify Friday night, and then he qualified and got $1,000 on Saturday night. So $1,200. I don't know how much it paid for not qualifying on Thursday. I mean, not a lot, I'm sure. So he got $1,200 where, if he would have went to Mississippi Thunder, he probably would have had more. I mean, I haven't talked to him.
Point money at the
end.
Right.
Right. And I mean, I haven't talked to him. I'm sure he has his reasons for going to Cedar Lake, and that's his prerogative. So, drivers are drivers, as Ryan would say.
I got a couple more things, but Puka, what did you get out of that? You watched obviously both them races. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, again, the track just seems different. Rough again. Rough on the bottom again. It looks like they must have done a lot of farming. Ashton was kind of all over the track. He had some. He wasn't scraping the wall, but he looked a little Bobby Pierce-ish. He was muscling the car, it seemed like sometimes. But I agree. Bishop looked fantastic again. But yeah, the biggest thing was the track. Like I said, it just doesn't seem. You got no cushion again. No cushion sitting up there. I just don't know what it is now. Like I said, when I was there for the Masters, I seem to have seen more of a red tint. The track looked really dark, not as dark as what Mississippi Thunder looked, but the track looked really dark. But all I saw was kind of the backstretch crowd. Crowd looked pretty good. All the parking spots in 3 and 4 looked, pretty full. They have, 2 levels there now. So I'm assuming it was a pretty successful weekend. Getting back to the COVID scanner thing. Now I know that some of the sponsors were a little bit worried about having this live event. So it doesn't surprise me that they brought them in as a, cover your ass kind of thing. And then knowing what you told us, Ryan, there's like, just get in there, because I know some of the sponsors, you don't want someone to get mad on social media. Like, hey, look at what, Morton Building's doing, they want to have this live event and get all these people together in Wisconsin. What are they thinking? And then, your name gets trashed. So, so that part didn't surprise me, that they at least, wanted to, set up some sort of precaution just to cover their asses.
Well, I think the track having a little attitude probably saved it, because they kept that track pretty hard, and that place gets really dirty, and it gets kind of marbly. So if the track wouldn't have had some attitude, it might have been not very good racing. I think that place, when it gets hard, you have to have a really long race, like the 100-lapper type deal. So I think that the racing was pretty darn good. The crowd, from what I understand, was much better on Friday than it was on Saturday, which is interesting. A lot of people 4th of July. A lot of people went to the lake, whatever they were doing, but the crowd was better Friday, as per my friends that were there. One thing I talked to my buddy Jeff about is he brought his daughter, first time ever to a race, first time ever. Guys, 2.5-hour show, Friday night, 2.5-hour start from the national anthem to him getting in his vehicle to leave, actually just under 2.5 hours. And he's like, man, he goes, that was fantastic. He goes, we had time to visit a little bit, head out, and there was still an hour to swim in the pool when they got back to the hotel. And let's face it, when it's your first time to the racetrack, if you're there for 5-6 hours, that ain't gonna fly. So a 2.5-hour program with good entertainment. I talked to the whole group. They said they had a great time down there. Just absolutely awesome. But the crowd was a little bit light on Saturday, as compared, of course, to Friday night. But guys, talking about Team Zero, how about Ricky Weiss? Thursday night, right? He wins.
It's a madman.
And he gets disqualified for deck height. Disqualified, right? Now, he didn't get docked, so I don't know how high it was, but he had a rubber snubber. And what that is when the car hikes up on the left rear, they got like a chain, okay? So you guys understand this as viewers and yourself. When the car pulls up, they put like a rubber snubber there, so that way it's not a solid blow. It kind of has a little cushion, right? Well, that snubber busted, and when that snubber broke, now all of a sudden you got that much more travel. So now the car's hiked up, and look how fast he was. He won, right? So it definitely was an advantage. But that just brings me back to, I listened to an interview. Ricky talked about how stupid that rule is in the first place. Lucas Oil don't have it. Most places don't have it. It's not like the racing was bad last year. Right. Is this another Mark Richards, we want a distinct advantage, screw everybody else? Because this came from kind of that area, and they got things rolling. So, like Ricky said, it's glad that he lost that race for $3,000 rather than something like that happening for $100,000 to win. But that rule is absolutely stupid. Nobody likes it except for Brandon Shepherd. To just get rid of the dumb thing and let him go race. It's an open late model. Why are they having these stupid nitpicky rules? Absolutely makes no sense. It's an open late model, open suspension. You can do what you want. Now you're going to limit the hike up? Come on, stupid.
Yeah, I agree. Bert, I know you were trying to chime in here.
Yeah, I was just going to say a few things. I did record because Saturday night's race was on CBS Sports on cable or satellite. And I did record it and I watched it. And yeah, I noticed there were several open sections in the backstretch grandstands. So, it definitely wasn't as large of a crowd as the USA Nationals is, because, that's jam packed. But I wanted to make a few comments about the live portion on CBS Sports. And that's where I think dirt late model racing is going to have a bit of a problem being good for TV, because you have to fit into the features. Had to be after 8 o'clock, but they had to be not far from 8 o'clock. So you're running a program and you have in the back of your mind, okay, we got to hurry along, or we got to slow this out a little bit so we fit in this window to be on live TV, if the TV networks are going to be that stringent on the coverage. Now, if they do like MAV TV did earlier in this year, and they show all the heats and show everything, then it's great. But when the show is forced to be, when the features are forced to be in a window, it can wreak havoc. And then I was watching the coverage, and then they had all these fluff pieces on drivers and stuff, and it's just like, let's just get to the racing. I want to see the racing. So
we're trying to build the characters.
I mean, I don't want to talk bad about coverage, because any coverage is good coverage, but you can see the limitations. And I did read an article, I think it was the World of Outlaws. They were supposed to be live somewhere else, but they had to cancel it because there was weather in the area, and they couldn't guarantee that they were going to fit into that window. I can't remember.
That was last weekend. That was last weekend for the firecracker. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, there are limitations when you're forced into a narrow window that you have to be in.
I guess we got to get them in a dome, right? That's where the dome comes in. You ain't got to fight with weather at the dome.
That's right, exactly. So, well, yeah, just to wrap up on Cedar Lake, one thing that Ricky did say in the interview, he said we lost $3,000 for like a $5 part, and that was interesting to hear. And on the sprint car side, I just want to mention that Brad Sweet swept the weekend Thursday, Friday, Saturday. All right, and then the final race we were tracking this weekend was the Great Lakes Border Battle up at Outlaw Speedway up in Superior, Wisconsin. I did not catch it. Ryan, I know you probably watched every lap. Can you kind of give us a rundown? I'm interested to hear what happened.
Yeah, I caught it on Dirt Race Central. I watched I watched most of the features all 3 nights, and modifieds. Johnny Broking made it 3 in a row. Right, he won Thursday night. He looked really good Thursday night, but there was a lot of really good modifieds there, guys. I mean, it was a stout field. He wasn't quite as good the next couple nights. Daryl Nelson, the Hermantown Hammer, he got her done on night 2. And Shane Sabraski, weird, right? The guy's won something every single weekend all year long. Guys, if you get a chance to just jump on and watch him, it's like artwork. I mean, right now, he is the cream of the crop. I mean, just watching him track the leader and pass him, I mean, he was stout. Another shout out in the mods, we talked about him last week, first-time winner, Brandon Kopp. Started 7th on the 3rd night and drove by Belfi, drove by some guys. He got 2nd. Man, he looked really good. So keep an eye on him. That Kopp name, that pedigree, he's going to win some races. Super stocks, Sabraski. He won the first 2, made him look stupid. But Kevin Burdick, your defending champ, he come to town. And he ran pretty well all weekend, but here's the deal. The 3rd night, him and Sabraski had an epic battle. I think it was a 25-lap feature. Guys, they were side by side, lap after lap after lap. And Burdick was rolling the top, and Sabraski was stalking him. Well, then Sabraski put on just enough pressure that Burdick starts changing his line around. He's like going to the middle of the block and going low, and he's moving around because he knows, like, wait a second, Sabraski's making some runs on me. I need to make something happen. Drives right into the middle of 1 and 2. Sabraski did not anticipate it. Contact was made. Burdick goes around. Sabraski to the back. Otherwise, Shane had won, I believe, 5 in a row and 6 out of the last 8 there. And I was actually talking to people. It's like, we should put a bounty on this. If he wins tonight, let's put a bounty on this guy. Because, he's virtually unbeatable. And there was some contact again. Burdick, kind of a little bit of blocking. He's my buddy. I love you, Kevin, if you're watching. But the fact is, he was blocking, and Dexton Cook came from deep. Looked like he was going to maybe get by, and Burdick kind of come down, ripped the nose piece off, and Burdick went on to win. So, it's ruffling a few feathers out there, but Burdick got her done. But overall, really good racing. Crowd was light. The crowd was not all that terribly great any of the 3 nights. I believe Friday night was probably the better of the 3, but they had a really good pit turnout, good car count, good racing. The track was phenomenal. They did a really good job at the Outlaw Speedway, but we were kind of concerned about that. Remember, they ran 5 out of 10 nights, plus you had the World of Outlaws, you had Mississippi Thunder, you had the stuff you could watch online, and hopefully they made enough money to make it a profitable event, because when they have events like that, it's so good for racing when they're racing for money. But the crowd was pretty light, but overall, a pretty good program there, and FYE Motorsports did a good job putting it on.
Well, yeah, that show was what 3-4 years ago was 10,000 to win, right?
Puka, you're a man of few words. You're muted out there. I think.
Am I locking up?
No, you weren't muted. You were cutting out there. We're picking on you. Go ahead.
I was going to say that the first couple of years of that Great Lakes Border Battle was 10,000 to win, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was $10,000 to win for Moz. It was kind of a heat one-day feature the next type deal, and then they just changed it up because they realized they weren't getting 75, 80 cars, so let's just reduce the person. They're getting basically the same car count, same quality of show.
All right, well, we're going to move on here to the last lap where we have 1 to go. All right, Ryan, you're going to kick us off here. Grand Rapids finally going to get some racing in this week.
Finally, the Donnelly Ford Grand Rapids Speedway opening up Thursday night, right? We got modifieds, Super Stocks, Midwest Mods, Northern Renegades, non-wing sprint cars, Pure Stocks, and Hornets. Excited to get racing underway, plus an Enduro on Friday. So knock on wood here, right, that Mother Nature is nice to us because they've been working their tail off. Everything's just about ready to go. So they're ready to go green flag racing in Grand Rapids, Minnesota.
All right, Bert, World of Outlaw late models paying a visit in your direction.
Yes, they will be at Allegheny Speedway in Seymour, Wisconsin on Friday night. And then they'll be at Plymouth Dirt Track in Plymouth, Wisconsin, which is by Sheboygan, on Saturday night. My plan is I plan on going to Seymour on Friday night, so it'll be good to see the World of Outlaws, and I'm sure several of the local drivers will give it a crack. Seymour is a smaller track than what Shawano is. The last 10 years, Outlaws have made a trip to Shawano Speedway. They won't be this year, but that Shawano's a half mile. So I'm sure the drivers will be happy to compete against the Outlaws on a smaller track at Seymour and Plymouth.
Ryan, the return of the Rumble. The Rumble.
And this is Wissota Late Model's biggest event, right? Terry Volz, years ago when he was a promoter out at the Brown County Speedway, had I think it was called the Dakota Rumble, wasn't it? It was sponsored by Dakota Bank, 10 grand to win. I believe it's $1,000 to start a fan. They have a fan bonus, which I kind of stole from him for a couple things I did. I think it's a great deal. And I know he's buddies with Kreiderman. I always remember Kreiderman going out there and winning. But I'm really, 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 really hoping that a bunch of the Minnesota and Wisconsin late models travel west. I mean, guys, come on. 10 grand to win. Get your butt out there. Support that show because it's a great racetrack. They got new promoters in. I talked to Kent Arment. He's super excited about it because he actually is he's one of them promoters. I don't know if you guys knew that. He's one of the people that's involved with the 5. But they want to put on a good show. And I tell you, they get a good fan count, great racing at the Brown County Speedway. So I tell you what, who's your pick? I'm gonna go out on a limb here really quick. I'm picking Kent Arment. He's been tough. He's won 2 of the last 2 big shows out there. I'm taking Arment to win. Puka, who do you got to win the Rumble?
Well, like I said, Kreiderman was the guy that kind of used to go there and just, write him the check. I know Gelling won. I think Dwayne Mader won one in there one year. I am going to have to, Scott Ward. He's kind of the hot shoe out there right now. So maybe I'll go with Scott Ward. I'm going to go with Scott Ward. I think, like I said, he's got the horseshoe right now. He's carrying it. Bert, you want to make a pick?
We're picking Western, guys. Bert, who are you taking?
You guys kind of stole my thunder. I was going to say I'm picking Kreiderman because he wins all the time. He always wins the Rumble. I will pick Jimmy Mars if he goes there. Otherwise, I'll go with Pat Dorr.
Oh yeah, there's a good pick. And Ryan, yeah, I've been to the event. Like I said, fantastic drivers get there. 20 lap heats. So you've got some time to make it work and get in there. And I'm assuming I haven't seen the numbers, but I'm assuming it's back to 1,000 to start. So, yeah, I mean, I remember I was there like 2000, 2001, just on the Saturday. I mean, just absolutely packed. You could barely fit in the grandstands. And that was a night when Kreiderman came from 17th to win it. Lance was, I believe, 2nd. So, track there, racing right on the bottom and right on the top. It was fantastic. I haven't been to the track much since then, but at least back then you could race kind of anywhere there at the Brown County Speedway. So, best wishes to Terry and Kent and everybody involved out there in Aberdeen. All right, the Dakota Mod Tour is going to be kicking off soon, Ryan.
Yeah, that's another marquee event. Used to be Wissota, right? I remember Alan Olofsson heading west and running good out there. But the Dakota Mod Tour, they actually start out. They race Fargo, Jamestown, Minot, Williston, Dickinson, and Mandan. Estevan, Saskatchewan is where I believe they started and ended. I thought they had a couple shows up there. Usually have a great Canadian contingent of both drivers and fans come down to that deal. The border's closed, right? So now no Team Canada in that deal. That kind of sucks because that tour is great. But there is over 80 modifieds pre-entered for that deal already, including the 20RT Ricky Thornton Jr., who's my pick to win that whole deal. So excited to see some racing out there. That's a great event. It's historic. It's been going on for a long time. So it's good to see that still going strong.
Well, we have time for one more. Bert, did you want to touch on the Hell Tour at all?
Well, the Hell Tour starts on Wednesday. I have the schedule in front of me here at Brownstown Speedway in Indiana. And I think, at least online from what I've seen, some of the excitement of the Hell Tour is Tyler Carpenter plans on following the Hell Tour this year. of course, he's famous for his big victory in the Dome in December. So that'll be interesting to see him follow it. If Bobby Pierce follows the whole tour, I'm picking him to win it. I did look at his schedule before the show, and he has a ton of the Hell Tour races on his schedule. I didn't look to see if he has every race on his schedule, but he has a ton of them on there. So if he follows the entire tour, I'm picking Bobby Pierce.
Ryan, who's your guy for the Hell Tour?
Man, that's a good pick right there, Bobby Pierce. But, man, I don't know. Brian Shirley, could he turn things around? And, I think Brian Shirley could be a guy to watch. Typically speaking, those races have a little traction on the tracks, banging the cushion. I'm looking for Brian Shirley to turn things around and be the guy to beat on the Hell Tour.
Okay, I'll go with Shannon Babb if he sticks with the Rocket. Not in the Bloomquist car, if he sticks with the Rocket. All right, fellas, that about wraps it up. Anything else?
Just prayers to Mark Gottmeyer. He had a tough roll. And the crazy thing is he rolled at Cedar Lake in a heat race. Really didn't look like a hard roll, but he landed kind of hard. I mean, we've seen some violent rollovers where they were just fine, but he had that back surgery. Speedy recovery to him. Hopefully he can get back behind the wheel soon.
Absolutely. Well, actually, we heard one more. Bert, Jimmy Johnson, NASCAR. Some news.
Well, he tested positive for COVID-19 earlier last week, so he missed the Brickyard 400, although it's called it's still the Brickyard 400, but it has some big sponsor name now. Anyway, he missed the race, and it's not surprising that a driver tested positive. I mean, I think as this goes along, more athletes and just more people in general are going to test positive. I mean, it's a virus that's working its way through society. I mean, that's what's going on. So yeah, he missed the race. We'll see if that impacts his quest for a championship, because if he doesn't win a race before the championship, the final 10 races, and he's got to get in on points, and missing a race, that's going to be difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I just wanted to say real quick a shout out here. Tom Nesbitt will be celebrating a birthday on Saturday, July 11th. So my hero, Tom Nesbitt, just want to wish you a happy birthday. You will be some age. We won't say.
Older than 45, I'm pretty sure.
Older than 45, yeah.
Hey, real quick before we jump off, I know, Bert, you mentioned you're going to – where did you say you're going to go? You're going to Plymouth or you're going to Seymour?
Seymour for sure. I'm toying with going to Plymouth, but I'm not sure yet. But definitely
Seymour. You going racing this weekend? Couple tracks in your area?
Thursday I'll be with you guys there in Rapids, and Saturday I'm sure I'll be in Hibbing. So that's kind of the tentative plan. Yeah, it's gonna be hot up here. So tell the water trucks to pump it up.
Absolutely, they got new clay. They've been there, and Mother Nature helped. It sounds like it rained up there a little bit today, but finally,
will you be up here?
I said this a couple times. I'm finally going to make it to a race. I will be up at the Donlinger Ford Grand Rapids Speedway. Not sure if I'm going to stick around all weekend. What I'm going to do, if I do, I'm going to go to Hibbing as well. But looking forward to getting back to the racetrack. So I can't even tell you how excited I am to get back to the racetrack right now.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, then that'll kind of wrap it up for us this week. Like I said, race fans, catch us here every week. You can catch us all on Facebook if you want to comment at Bert Lehman, at Ryan Aho, and at Racer Puka. And, of course, we're right here at the One to Go Show on Facebook. We also have a podcast, we have a YouTube channel, and we have a TikTok account. So if you're on any of those, feel free to give us a thumbs up. And with that, get out there, be your dream. You're tuned to the One to Go Show.